Alex Toth, Batman, Detective Comics. I'm talking about Detective Comics number 442. Here we go. Hey everyone, I'm Bernie, and today we're going to go over Detective Comics number 442. Why am I going over this? Well, because the story, Death Flies to Haunt the Sky, is actually illustrated by one of my biggest artistic influences, and that's artist Alex Toth, pronounced like both. So if you know, or if you've heard the name Alex Toth, it's probably from different Hanna-Barbera cartoons from the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s. Space Ghost, Birdman, Herculoids, I love all of them. I grew up on all of them. But as far as his comics work, it's kind of all over the place. He did crime, war, horror, westerns. He did Zorro, Hot Wheels, Black Canary for DC. So as you can tell, a little bit all over the place. But this one right here is one of those staples that when you start looking at Alex Toth, everyone remembers this story. Detective Comics number 442 came out September 1974. And you can see here, covered by the amazing Jim Aparo. And you even get this kind of intro page here by Jim Aparo as well. It's a collection of different stories. Some of them, honestly, we're not going to go over because they're not related and they're not drawn by Alex Toth. But the short story here, it's 11 pages. So let's get right into it. All right, Alex Toth, here we go. One of the great things about Alex Toth is his design. And you can see right out of the gate in panel 1, great composition here. This kind of condo high-rise complex, just incredibly well, simplistically illustrated. One of his big quotes, it's simplicity but not simple. You can tell everything you need to know here. Great use of colors. Lets you know that the people in those different units are in their houses. And you see all of this dialogue coming from the penthouse. Two people seemingly having a domestic conversation when, boom, all of a sudden, biplane out of nowhere shooting into the penthouse right through, obviously throwing off whatever you would think is supposed to happen here. Then we get this great intro. Death Flies to Haunt the Sky. Just reminds me of those EC Comics Tales from the Crypt type stories where you would have just that really good just font design, penmanship, everything is there. But I mean, come on, let's just take a moment to look at this. You've got the Batman logo in the actual cape. You've got the biplane here in white, just has that kind of ghostly, maybe sort of, something supernatural is going on here. But also from just a strictly color choice design aspect, it pops against everything else. Got Batman here in the foreground. You've got that coiling rope that just adds some dimension between background and the foreground. And just great simple design. Not a lot of rendering because it's not necessary. That's one of the great things Alex Toth was able to do, is just really good drawing done really well. And then you have those little details, sort of on this water tower. You've got the ladder here, some different textures, but just beautifully well composited design. I'll have to throw up the pencils version that I was able to find online, and it's stunning to look at. You can see some of the whiteout that's actually on the page. Hopefully I'm showing that right now, and you'll just see what Alex Toth did before you actually see the finished version here. All right, so let's go to the next sequence here. I love this page just because there's so much action, but it just sort of contributes and continues to just further this plane that's flying. Batman's jumping on these panels, just suggesting height, elevation. The plane's wheels off screen. You don't even see the plane because everything is here, but Batman's just holding on for dear life. And I love this design because he was also, Alex Toth also did the lettering, so you can see that this motion that this plane does, I don't know if that's called a barrel roll, but whatever it is, it just goes round here right into the next panel where you can see Batman, you can see the cape going right as he's about to fall down on this water tower. And love how he just kind of like tucks in, very athletic, right through the water tower. And you can almost hear that splash when Batman goes into the water tower. The bubbles just beautifully, simply rendered. Going into the next page, one of the amazing things, one of the most unique things about comics is being able to illustrate that passage of time. And since we're doing it as comic artists in the confines of the page, in these panels, Alex Toth, again, a master, does a great job of showing what appears to be the water tower hole, and you see this little suggestion here of maybe the moon. At least that's how I read it. Batman crawling out of the water tower, grabbing his shoulder into the next panel. We know he's hurt. He just went right through a water tower, but just great, just gesture, great movement, and then looking off into the sky because obviously the biplane mystery villain flew away, but all done efficiently and effectively. Next panel here may seem like a throwaway, but when you look at other artists and they're doing a crowd scene, something here where we're just seeing a bunch of talking heads reacting to what just happened, there's so much design and so much individuality in each of these faces. They're all just specific people, and you can tell the woman with the curlers, the seemingly like valet lobby guy here, just everything, the gestures, the faces, the expressions. It's something that as an artist you could easily just kind of, all right, well, I want to draw Batman. I want to draw a biplane. I want to draw a Dutch angle, something interesting. I don't want to draw a bunch of faces. Alex Toth does not take the easy way out. Takes the time to render all of them well, give them all different personalities. Next few shots here, not much to speak of. I like the fact that she's at least wearing pink. And again, since Alex Toth not only wrote the story, drew it, and lettered it, probably also had he also did the coloring as far as I can see from the credits. So my guess is he made the choices against Batman's gray and blue. The pink just pops. Just good way to identify the different characters. And then flying away here. Again, he lettered it. So you kind of figure, as he was drawing it, he was laying out the way, he was laying out the pages the way he would want to see it. But there are times where here, you know what? As a matter of fact, that is not true. I'm pretty sure it was written by Archie Goodwin. Pretty sure Archie Goodwin might have written this. Yes. So maybe there's just a little bit more writing that's necessary on here. All right, let's get back to the art, because honestly, that's why I'm talking about this, because it's Alex Toth. Next page here, not a lot to speak of. The fact, again, using his ability to show off that these are three very different people. Guy with the glasses, guy with the goggles, guy who's balding with the beard. Just lets you know you've got these planes, you've got the three different characters here. Great use of foreground and background. Simple panel where you're going to get a lot of word balloons and a lot of dialogue, but effective composition. Into the next page here. I'm just going to jump right to this one. You can just tell the way he was able to do this panel. It's a hanger. Those windows, everything's there. Again, I wish there wasn't this much here. And I'm actually kind of surprised, because I always think of, in setting up a panel, I always think, we read left to right. So the fact that this is kind of going against, I would have probably flipped that. But again, I'm not going to go against Alex Toth. But still, just that ray of light with the flashlight right up against the black. So effective, so beautiful. Last few shots here, speaking of beautiful, love how he takes the black here to just create this little angle that, they're going uphill in this car. Simple design here of what seems to be like a barn or a house. But, for someone who takes way too much time rendering fire, and I kind of take it almost like a cel-shaded animated approach to it, this just lets you know that if you do it the right way, the audience knows what's going on. A few well-executed, well-drawn lines lets you know this is a big inferno. It's a big fire. And on top of that, you've got someone yelling out, "Fire, oh dear Lord." But just completely well done. Again, same thing. You don't have to go crazy drawing a bunch of flames, because Alex Toth just showed us that with a few lines and the right coloring, you know what's going on. You can even see little segments of what seems to be that barn, that building falling apart. Just a few lines. It's a grid, but we know that's a window. Here are some timbers, some pillars, something that lets you know everything's falling apart. Batman's just getting out. And in this last shot here, one of the things that Alex Toth was exceptional at is drawing silhouettes. And here's the plane. We can see it in silhouette here. The figures here in small, so we get a little bit of size and dimension, but just really well done. So, his inspirations included Hal Foster, who did Prince Valiant, Alex Raymond, who worked on Flash Gordon. You've got Milt Caniff, Terry and the Pirates, and Steve Canyon. Toth didn't work on a lot. Again, his comics work is a bit sparse. He did John Fury of Japan. I actually have a copy of that, but it's in color. They actually colored it. I'm not sure if he did. And it kind of takes away. I would almost rather see his artwork in just the pencil or ink stage without the colors. This, since he probably colored himself, works. The other one has a little bit too much rendering, too many highlights. It's too busy. But one of the things that he did in a lot of his works, including his probably magnum opus, Bravo for Adventure, is drawing planes. And, well, you can see he was very good at drawing planes, dogfights, and in this shot right here, if you've ever seen North by Northwest, it's just this iconic shot. You can almost imagine Alex Toth. He seems like the kind of guy who would have gone to the theater for like a matinee and just, in love with Hitchcock composition, shadows, what Hitchcock did in North by Northwest with Cary Grant and that famous shot. It's in your morgue file in your head as an artist. Just that composition is hard to forget. And if it finds itself on the page, you just lean into it because it's almost like it's like Cliff Notes. It's meta. The person sees this and immediately, if they've seen North by Northwest, they get everything that came with that scene in here. So as an artist, you're just like unpacking all that emotion that the person's already bringing with them to a panel. And if that's bringing emotion, dynamism, it's bringing character and story to your elements, to your story, then all the better. And again, just effectively well done in drawing these planes. He loved it and he was good at it. Not much to speak here. I mean, I like the fact that everything's here. Again, he didn't take too much time to render the plane because we can see that Batman's over here. It does have that feeling like the panel is going that way because it's, they're flying in the air and you've got the pilot of the white biplane here who loses his pistol thanks to Batman's accuracy with the batarang. But I do like this shot here. It has that feeling of what Neil Adams introduced to Batman, that athleticism, that litheness that we would get. So you kind of feel like Batman has this sort of Olympian type build, and Alex Toth was just able to draw Batman incredibly well, just jumping from one plane to the other in the middle of the sky. Again, just really good figure work. And then this page here, again, being able to draw planes and just communicate the story well. You've got planes that are going back and forth and flying over each other, setting up this water tower so that way when it crashes, you get the boom, you get the crash. You don't need a lot of fanfare. You don't need a lot of busyness. We know that the plane just flew by it. That plane flew into it. I wasn't kidding when I said it was a short story here. Like I said, 11 pages, and then you've got kind of like the final shot here of everything being explained. This is so busy. There are so many word balloons here, but this feels like Alex Toth taking the story that now has to be explained. We have to explain the mystery. We have to explain what happened, and he's using his pencil mileage, he's using his layout space, and he's moving it to the things he likes to draw. The planes, these shots, this movement. So by the time we get to this last page, just feels like it's that last few minutes in Psycho, thinking about Hitchcock movies, where you have to take a few seconds to have the psychiatrist explain why Norman Bates did everything he did, and it just feels like Exposition City. You don't need it. The audience, if the story has been told well, they'll know what's going on. This feels very heavy-handed. Alex Toth is an amazing master class artist. This isn't where you use him on something that's just exposition heavy here. But again, he did the layout, so he probably knew what he was doing, and he just thought out of 11 pages, if the 11th one is a bit heavy, it lets me do these on pages 8, 9, 10. One of his big mantras was, what doesn't add distracts. And that last page is distracting, but in some of these other shots, just again, a mastery of black and white, a great designer, has a bit of a cinematic style, a cinematic flair. When you think of Alex Toth, you can't help but to think of the influence that he's had on Bruce Timm, Mike Mignola, Chris Samney, myself for sure. I'm definitely not in the group as some of those amazing artists. Alex Toth, unfortunately, he died at his drawing table in 2006. So while obviously an influence to many artists, he was always striving for more. And I'll just end this with one of his last quotes that I think always rings true to me. Alex Toth: strip it all down to the essentials and draw the hell out of what's left. Alex Toth, Death Flies the Haunted Sky. If you get a chance, check it out. Great 11-page story.